Shalom, all praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah. I'm gonna be touching on a couple of videos. I'm gonna play the quicker video first, and then bring out some precepts.
Few people on this app, when they get nervous, I get nervous. And I know that a lot of people who talk about current events, they do things for engagement. And fear, a lot of the time, and making you scared gets them more clicks and more comments, which in turn gets them more money. However, one creator who you might know, Mr. Global, he's a gas and oil expert, industry expert. He doesn't do that. He's very informative. I enjoy watching his videos because I want to learn more. I want to be well informed to the point where it's actually helpful, and then I can turn it off and, if I start to get too depressed on what's happening. He's nervous about what's going to happen starting tomorrow in the gas and oil industry based on OPEC and if you don't know who that is, Google it. You can find people who can speak to it much more intelligently than I can, aka Mr. Global. Long story short, gas prices may come down at the pump, but that's because there's an overproduction that's going to happen overseas, which is much more than what they were planning. And that's going to really hurt American refineries. And when that happens, people start to lose their jobs. And the thing, unfortunately, like the smoke and mirrors that we're all going to see, as far as I can understand it, is that, we're going to see prices a little bit lower at the pump, at least initially. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just trying to piece this together. But on the back end, our utilities, our natural gas utilities, they're going to skyrocket. And if you go to Mr. Global's page, he'll explain, again, much better than I can, about how all of that works. And he's nervous. And that makes me nervous. And it should make you nervous too. There are a few.
From there, it's also gonna be some layoffs. Dealing with the oil. I'm gonna grab some scriptures first, and these two videos they both said something that lined up perfectly with the scriptures. Pretty much everything they said lined up, but they, you know, they spoke on the delusion Americans have, these Babylonians have. They think we fear mongering when we warn the people because they're so used to being comfortable. If you go to those comments, I believe there's somebody in there that said that something like, "Oh, we seen this before." I seen it in another video too. It was a woman. She was like, "Oh no, we seen this before. Oh no, empty shells or something like that. Not like we have seen this before." All right, so a lot of people live in a delusion. You know, they say we fear mongering and things like that. This is Second Esdras chapter 16 and verse 15 says, "The fire is kindled and shall not be put out till it consume the foundation of the earth, like as an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer returning not backward. Even so, the plagues that shall be sent upon earth shall not return again." All right, so the Lord is sending constant plagues upon this place, and it's not going to go back to so called normal or good. America's not going to be so called great. You know, which a lot of people keep hoping for. They keep thinking, oh, it's gonna be good. Man, it's been years and this place haven't got any better. And even when it gets better, we're gonna get that scripture and a few more verses. Even when it gets better, the Lord is gonna punish these people even more. You know, it's like he sends them a delusion. He sends them a false sense of hope. All right, so woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? All right, and it's the prophet Edris speaking, because he got a vision on how bad this place is going to be. Since the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Now, if you serving the Lord, he's gonna have you. He's gonna keep you. He's gonna protect you. He's gonna provide for you. The Lord is making it. He's what you call it? He's handicapping this place to where only if you have the Lord on your side, then will you be helped. you it's no other way you can help yourself. It's not gonna be uh, by physical preparation. You know, the people not gonna be able to prepare for what the Lord is sending. You know, if the Lord has a set judgment for you, it's that. You know, it's nothing you can do to escape it, right? And the scriptures speak on that. All right. Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for men. And like I said before, see you see with all these job layoffs. All right, the Lord is really handicapping people. So at the end of the day, it's like it's either you got the Lord or you don't. You know, he's really making it be known. He's making it be known that it's all about him. You know, it's not about oh how much money you made, how much you know prepared or anything like that, because the Lord's gonna cut everything off, right? So it's gonna be who got the Lord or who don't at the end of the day, right? So I'm gonna keep reading. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. It says, Behold, victuals shall be so good, cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. So just like the man in the video I just played the clip, he was talking about cheap gas, right? So with the overproduction of gas, the prices are gonna go down, right? So people gonna look at that because this economy, this world is so bad over here in the first place. The little bit of so-called good that they get, they gonna be like, oh, see, look, everything's gonna be better. You know, they really these Americans are desperate. You know, and they try to act like they not scared. They try to act like they all good. But deep down inside, that's why they say we fear mongering in the first place, because they're projecting. Like one of the brothers said, in his live when he was out on the street teaching, he was saying they really projecting that they're scared. They don't know what to do, so they really gotta live in a delusion. They have to. They gotta force themselves to be in a delusion. All right, because they don't know what to do when these things hit. You know, it says, for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So, like I said before, it don't matter how much you done prep, man. If you're not on the Lord good side, you done. You know, and we seen this in the scripture. It says, and the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them, for the earth shall be wasted, and the city shall be cast. All right, so I gotta redo this big portion, the biggest portion of my video. I don't know what happened. It's missing. Um, I tried to see if it got deleted, and I literally don't see anything that got deleted. So I just gotta redo it. Um, so it might be choppy, and the parts might it might be like random parts, but you know, get as much edification as you can. It shouldn't be too confusing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Large Man Abroad. Let's have a talk. I don't think people are really quite ready for what's about to happen. And as much as we like to complain about how much we hate our jobs, we wish we had time off, the fact is we need to work. And that's not going to be a choice for a lot of people pretty soon. We've already seen layoffs as far as the government sector, people saying useless jobs in the government and things like that. But what happens when it leaks over to just normal people? What happens when the average person who's struggling to get by starts to lose their job? Because this is something that's going to happen soon. The world seems to have had enough at this point with America, and honestly, they're starting to do business elsewhere, and there are consequences to that. It's not just something that's going to be on the news. It's not just something that we can argue about when it comes to politics. These are very real things, and the consequences are very real, and they're going to be touching people here pretty soon. Some words we use in the conversation don't really seem to make sense to us that much. We talk about the global supply chain. We talk about cargo ships being turned away. We talk about people divesting from America, taking their assets elsewhere. But this doesn't seem like something that would really affect the normal person, really. I mean, our lives are small. They don't really seem to be touched by politics, really, because most people have given up on the idea of politics actually affecting their lives in any kind of positive way. And there's this thought that it can't get any worse than it really is, but the fact is it can. And more than like,
Because no matter who's in the office, man, the Lord prophesied. He said he's going to bring this place down. People don't understand that the Lord does not love this place, so you have people, you have so-called Christians, you got Americans that pray for this place to be healed, which the scripture tell you will not be healed. And you really an adversary of the Lord if you pray for this place because you're praying against his will. And I don't know if I already said that in this video. Like I said, I gotta redo this whole thing. I don't know what's missing. I know a few things is missing, but I don't know if I'm repeating certain stuff. So if I am repeating something, oh well, so we're liking to be married unto the Lord, right? You know, we're the Lord's wife, right? So if you're praying against his will, that makes you a bad wife. You're supposed to be after your husband's will. You're supposed to be after the Lord's will. You don't pray against his will. So it don't matter whoever is in the office, man. This place is going down either way.
most likely, almost guaranteed, it is going to get worse. Job layoffs will continue. They'll continue out of necessity for businesses as business try to stay afloat. And that's what we're starting to see. Businesses will consolidate. Businesses will start to shrink. Businesses will do what they have to do and take the measures they need to keep that business open, especially in a downturned economy. People say that we're not in a recession, and I would argue that we are, and we're slipping into a much deeper, much worse recession, honestly. And when the global supply chain gets hit and things stop coming into the country, the first people to lose their jobs are going to be truckers. Then the dock workers, because if there's no one needed to work at the docks have to start firing people. And if there's nothing to take away from the docks, there's no need for trucking companies to still maintain the contracts they have with their drivers. And even though in industries like trucking there's a shortage of drivers, what happens when there's a shortage of jobs? They're going to start firing people. It's just, like I said, it's something that's going to be done out of necessity, and people aren't ready for it. We always say in the conversation now that people
A lot of people don't realize, man. The truck drivers basically get everything going, keep everything going. You know, um, the imports and things like that. So if things are not coming in, then you know it's bad for the other business, right? So people really don't be paying attention to how stuff work and how important things are. You know, so it's not just gonna be the truck drivers. It's not just gonna be what UPS. It said like 20,000 was closing or the layoffs. It's gonna be restaurants. It's gonna be fast food places, especially the fact that nobody can afford this stuff anymore. Right? So you know, um, everybody gonna get hit, man. Like I said, the Lord gonna make it to where you have to depend on Him, and if you're not on His good side, you're gonna be caught out there. It's nothing you can do to save yourself. It's gonna At the end of the day, it's gonna be who is covered by Yahweh and Yahweh Shah. If you're not covered by them, then there's nothing you can do.
just haven't started suffering enough to really understand and call for the change that's really needed. We're looking at things and people aren't ready for it. We always say in the conversation now that people just haven't started suffering enough to really understand and call for the change that's really needed. We're looking at things on the macro scale because the effects of what's happening on a macro scale haven't really touched normal people. But what happens when it starts to touch us? The first thing that happens is we start losing our jobs. The second thing is that there's no food at the grocery stores. And I know that sounds far-fetched, but why is it? It's just because America has been in a safe bubble. Everyone has really been able to keep their heads above water just barely enough to really think that things are going to turn around and be okay. But the world's turning away from America. And when the world turns away from America and America has no domestic manufacturing base or
And that's the most important part I wanted to get. I'm gonna let it play a little bit, but I'm gonna grab some scriptures for what he just said. About Americans being in that little safe bubble where they feeling like basically invincible, right? Nothing can touch them. All right, careless. This is Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 1. It says, woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord Yahweh, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with the covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. Now that's going into the Israelites, but this applies to everybody basically. The spirit of these Americans, but like I said, specifically talking about children of Israel. Um, it says that walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh and to trust in the shadow of Egypt, right? Because you see our people now, they trust in oppression. They depend on this place. They depend on the president. They depend on the government, whatever, and they don't depend on the Lord. They don't go to the Lord for nothing. They don't seek out the Lord. They don't um they don't try to see what's required of them. They don't pay attention to prophecy. They think it's just nonsense. It says, therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. And the people that trusted in this place, because we're in modern day Egypt today, Babylon and Great America. We're in the house of bondage. All right. So Revelation speak on this place being modern day Egypt, right? So you see the people that have this spirit, they're confused. The people that have trusted in this place, they're confused. They don't know what to do, right? They got caught off guard because they thought, oh, this place is gonna last. They trusted in oppression, you know, um, when this place really don't care about them, right? So I'm gonna go to Isaiah chapter 47 and verse 1. It says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. Thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal. Uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yet thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. As for our Redeemer, the Lord Yahweh of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Says, sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the lady of kings. I was wroth with my people, I have polluted my inheritance and given them into thy hand. Thou didst show them no mercy upon the ancient, as thou very heavily laid thy yoke. And thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it, because this place, people in this place, they think America is never gonna be brought down. You think if you literally look up on YouTube, there's plenty of people, TikTok, whatever. There's plenty of people that think this place can't be touched, that it's gonna abide forever. You know, in verse 8 it says, therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that says in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thy enchantments. But thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge it hath perverted thee, and thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. It says, therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Now, you know, us has been serving the Lord. We knew what was coming to this place, but the children of the dark, they didn't know because they were just concerned with uh feasting and just folly. They wanted to be partying, just not focused, man. They wasn't watching. Also, like I said before, they thought nothing could happen to them, right? So it's just like the days of Noah. right? So I'm gonna go back to this video.
Ability to supply the consumer need here in America, then we go into a demand-driven economy where there's no supply there to meet the demand. And that creates scarcity. And the only way that businesses can compensate for the scarcity and the lack of demand is by cutting jobs and raising prices. Because the margins still have to be met. Profits still have to be made. Profits can't go down. You can't bother the investors. We have to find a way to make the investors happy. And that's exactly what businesses will do. And they don't care about you. You can lose your job. You'll go find a job somewhere else. Fast food's always hiring. All those years you spent working at your job, thinking about retirement, building your 401k, looking forward to a pension, just like that, it can be taken away. And it's not something that's out of the
And that's exactly why the Lord said this. What is it? This is Matthew. I forgot exactly where it is. 1 second. Matthew chapter 6 and verse 19 says, lay not up for yourselves treasure upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Right? So people, I don't, I've seen it, but I don't know why people don't pay attention. But it's clear as day how easily something can be taken from you in this place, which you don't really, you don't really own anything in the first place. So it's best off to just listen to the Lord. You don't want to lay up treasures upon earth. These things can easily be taken away from you, but they can't take things away from you that you've been storing up in the spiritual realm. They can't take that from you. That's something that can't be taken from you. That's just between you and the Lord. A man can't take these things from you, spiritual things.
realm of possibility. It's something that we're already seeing. And it's always the elderly that are getting hit first, honestly, because they're often seen as the most expendable. Why would you want to keep someone who soon is going to be drawing resources from your company when you can just hire somebody who's 18, 19, 20, fresh out of college?
So I'm not gonna play the whole video. Y'all can go watch it. I'm gonna just grab one of the scriptures I think was missing from my video when I posted it, because it was on this part of the video and everything. I don't know what happened to it. Like I said, um, this is Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 1, right? Because everything is gonna shut down, man. And these is one of the few. This is one of many scriptures that goes into things being shut down. All right. Ecclesiastes 12 and 1 says, remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. All right. So the Lord telling you to remember him in the days of your youth. All right. Don't wait until the evil comes and then you try to call on him. Like Proverbs chapter 1 say. And I think I'm gonna go back to that because I think it's missing out of the clip too. So I'm gonna go grab that in a second. It says, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and that's going on right now. You know, it's just the beginning. It's gonna get way worse. Um, It says, and those that look out of the windows be darkened, and the door shall be shut in the streets, when the sound of the grinding is low. And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Also, when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fear shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets. All right, so the point of this is seeking the Lord in your youth, seeking the Lord before the troubles come, you know, because contrary to popular belief, there's a such thing as being too late. You see that, like I said earlier, with the story of Noah, the flood. It was too late for them. When the ark got closed up, they got locked out, and the flood came. It was too late, but Christianity teach you today, oh, you got all the time in the world. The world teaches you, oh, you can call upon the Lord, you can repent whenever you want to. All right. Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 24. Because I have called and you refused, I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded. But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and with none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. When your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you. Then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For that they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. They were none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way, and be filled, Salakia, with their own devices. All right. It says, for the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whoso hearkeneth unto me shall dwell safely, shall be quiet from fear of evil. All right. So, like I said, there's a such thing as too late, man. If you reject the Lord, He's gonna reject you, especially in your times of trouble, the time when you really need Him. All right. But if you serving the Lord, like verse 33, He gonna have you, man. He gonna protect you. He gonna provide for you in these times. All right. The famine, the plagues, the Lord gonna cover you. All right. So I believe I was leaving off at Second Esdras chapter 6. So I'm gonna end the video now, but I'm gonna go to it so it don't look crazy. Second Esdras and 6. So yeah, I'm finna end the video, and then the rest should be playing, and I should read the rest, and it should finish up. Be found empty, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man hear it, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. All right, it says, whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told thee shall escape and see my salvation in the end of your world. All right, and really I wanted to save some of these scriptures for these other videos I seen because there was people already talking about eating their neighbors, eating their pets because food shortages, the shelves being empty. So people already got it set in their mind. Friends gonna turn on each other. You it gets scary when somebody is starving. And these people in America, they don't even fast. They can't go one day without eating. They got a snack every 30 minutes or whatever. So just imagine, man. But I'm gonna bring these scriptures out again anyways. It don't matter. They never get old. Second Esdras. I'm gonna close out with this. Um, Second Esdras chapter 15 at verse 14 says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword in their destruction draweth not, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be afraid. Salaki. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Man, so that's what you're gonna see today, man. That's what you're gonna see coming in these times. We don't put a time on anything, but we see how things are adding up right now, how things are lining up. And actually, I do want to grab another one. Let me see, Ezekiel. All right. Where I want to start. I'm gonna start at verse 30. It says, "Also, thou son of man, the children of thy people still are talking against thee by the walls and in the doors of the houses, and speak one to another, every one to his brother, saying, Come, I pray you, and hear what is the word that cometh from the Lord. And they come unto thee as the people cometh, and they sit before thee as my people, and they hear thy words, but they will not do them. For with their mouth they show much love, but their heart goeth after their covetousness. And lo, thou art unto them as a very lovely song, or of one that hath a pleasant voice like it, and can play well on an instrument, for they hear thy words, but they do them not. All right, so that's how people treat, the prophets of the Lord, the servants of the Lord. They treat this word as entertainment. They don't take it seriously. Uh, just like I saw one video of one of the brothers, he was teaching, and a dude came up trying to act all humble and stuff, and the whole time he wasn't humble. They use flattery words, and the words that come out their mouth, they'll belittle themselves to appear as humble, but then they won't let you teach them. You try to teach them something, they say you wrong. They don't think you know what you're talking about. And that's how people act, man. They not trying to hear the word. They want to see it as entertainment. Or even if you talk to them, they don't really believe, man. Uh, it says, and when it's coming to pass, lo, it will come. Then shall they know that a prophet hath been among them. All right, and then we got the famine of the word coming too. So people really gonna be scattered, and I believe Ezra speaks on that too. People gonna be seeking wisdom, and that's probably the worst thing, imagine plagues of sin on the earth, and then nobody, they have no guidance from the Lord anymore, because the Lord hid his prophets. The Lord caused his prophets to be silent, not to give them any guidance, just like the brothers were saying, like they might come up to you, hey, what did you say the Lord name was again? And you don't say nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. You know, you don't say nothing to him. Man, imagine that. That's gonna hurt. I hate to be on that side. That's gonna hurt. Knowing these people was telling you the truth, and then it finally hit you. Now you desperately seeking answers, and you can't get it. And even if you do get it, you think the Lord gonna deal with them? Probably not. Now the Lord has mercy on who He has mercy on, but hey, His word is His word. If you don't seek Him in the right time, it's gonna be too late. So I'm gonna close out with that, giving our praise to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai again. Shalom.